Welcome to a deep dive into an escalating crisis. The persistent poison, Canada's unsung tragedy of toxic endurance. In the rivers and lakes that define this country, a battle is being fought against contaminants we cannot see.
Chemicals that will not break down and systemic failures that allow pollution to persist. This isn't just an environmental issue. It's a chronic public health disaster driven by the proliferation of forever chemicals. The overwhelming tide of plastic, agricultural runoff, and a regulatory system paralyzed by tolerance and inaction. Today, we document the intersecting crisis poisoning Canada's water and food, and examine the profound cost of allowing corporate conduct to outweigh public safety. The story begins with the unsung tragedy of toxic endurance. The unfolding environmental and public health crisis across Canada is marked by the relentless spread of persistent contaminants.
The Persistent Poison, Canada's Unsung Tragedy of Toxic Endurance. Introduction: The Forever Nature of Contamination. The unfolding environmental and public health crisis across Canada is marked by the relentless spread of persistent contaminants. The most infamous of these are per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, universally known as forever chemicals. These synthetic substances were deliberately engineered to resist heat, water, and grease. While excellent for consumer products, this resistance ensures their catastrophic, long-term environmental endurance. Once released, PFAS do not break down. Instead, they accumulate in the soil, surface water, groundwater, and within the tissues of organisms for decades. This is not a problem confined to distant industrial areas. Evidence confirms that PFAS are widespread, detected in cities like Winnipeg, Manitoba, and contaminating major freshwater ecosystems like the Great Lakes. These chemicals affect both our drinking water supplies and essential components of our food chain, such as wild fish. This analysis is more than a simple environmental assessment. It's a comprehensive documentation of the systemic regulatory and corporate failures that allow this continuous cycle of public poisoning to persist. A Geography of Vulnerability, Lake Winnipeg as a National Case Study. Manitoba and the tragedy of Lake Winnipeg offer a critical case study of Canada's contamination crisis. This region features an unfortunate intersection of intense human activity and a highly susceptible natural environment. Lake Winnipeg, the sixth largest freshwater lake in the country, suffers from chronic degradation driven by excessive nutrient loading and other contaminants. Its massive drainage basin supports close to 7 million people, and the land use is predominantly agricultural. Manitoba faces a unique synergy of environmental stressors: intense industrial point source pollution, primarily from Winnipeg's sewage systems, massive non-point source contamination from agriculture, and increasing hydrological variability due to climate change. The combined weight of these challenges places Lake Winnipeg at the forefront of the national struggle against systemic pollution.
Call it the forever chemical, Lord, and that's a lonely name. Engineered to resist the fire, the water, and the rain. It's in the makeup on my counter, the coat upon my back, a non-stick frying pan that puts poison on the track. Now it's deep inside the bloodstream, baby, where it aims to stay. I read a tragic headline, came from the frozen north. Said the Arctic ice is poison, showing all the damaged world. They found it in the polar bears and the seals that swim the sea. The little town of Winnipeg got no immunity. The price of convenience, baby, is the sorrow of my soul. To carry this heavy load, forever is a long time on this polluted road. It builds up in my kidneys, puts a lie into my mind. This poison won't be broken down, it just keeps on behind. The scientists came looking, checked the water and the fish. Said one serving of fresh water is more than I should wish. They talk about the liver damage, the way the thyroid fails. The immune system breakdown tells a story on the scales. Now I'm afraid to feed my children what the river sends to me. They phased out all the PFOs, they thought the danger passed. But the industry brought substitutes, moving just too fast. They swapped the long chain trouble for a short one just as bad. The chemicals keep changing and the public is left sad. They're playing a shell game, baby, with my life and all my hair. Forever is a long time to carry this heavy load. Forever is a long time on this polluted road. It builds up in my kidneys, puts a Tell me 30 nanograms is the limit for my cup, but the filters cost a fortune, and who's gonna raise it up? The province says a guideline ain't a thing they have to bind. So the cost of clean water is a burden on mankind. The law keeps looking sideways while the poison slips on through. Forever is a long time to carry this heavy load. Forever is a long time on this polluted road. It builds up in my kidneys, puts a lie into my mind. This poison won't be broken down, it just keeps on behind. Inside the bloodstream, baby, where it aims to stay. Forever is a long time to carry this heavy load. Forever is a long time on this polluted road. It builds up in my kidneys, puts a lie into my mind. This poison won't be broken down, it just on behind. They call it the forever chemical, Lord, and that's a lonely name. Engineered to resist the fire, the water, and the rain. It's in the makeup on my counter, the coat upon my back, a non-stick frying pan that puts poison on the track. Now it's deep inside the bloodstream, baby, where it aims to stay. Forever is a long time to carry this heavy load. They call it the forever chemical, Lord, and that's a lonely name. Engineered to resist the fire, the water, and the rain. It's in the makeup on my counter, the coat upon my back, a non-stick frying pan that puts poison on the track. Now it's deep inside the bloodstream, baby, where it aims to stay. Forever is a long time to carry this heavy load. Forever is a long time on this polluted road. It builds up in my kidneys, puts a lie into my mind. This poison won't be broken down, it just keeps on behind.
Category 1. The Forever Chemicals Requiem, PFAS. Persistence and biomonitoring. PFAS compounds are defined by their bioaccumulative nature. They resist environmental degradation and instead build up over time in human tissues, including the blood, kidneys, and liver. Long-term exposure to these substances is conclusively linked to severe health consequences, including liver damage, reproductive issues, thyroid imbalance, immune system deficiencies, and increased risks of certain cancers. These risks are compounded for vulnerable groups, with developmental effects being particularly dangerous for pregnant women and infants. Canadian human biomonitoring data provides a complex picture. Data collected over a decade shows statistically significant decreasing trends in the concentrations of older, legacy PFAS compounds like PFOA and PFOS. For example, PFOS concentrations declined by 67%. However, this decrease in legacy PFAS, which is a reflection of successful phase-outs conducted decades prior, masks a deeper, ongoing regulatory failure. As certain compounds are banned, the industrial sector immediately substitutes them with new, often short-chain PFAS variants, which pose similar or unknown toxicological risks. This creates a relentless chemical shell game. The decline in older chemicals is continuously offset by the introduction of unmonitored and unregulated replacement compounds, ensuring that the total chemical burden and associated public health risk remain high or even escalate. Sources and vectors of exposure. Public exposure to PFAS is nearly unavoidable due to their extensive presence across the modern economy. While food is generally considered the main source of exposure, drinking water, bottled water, and household dust are also major vectors. PFAS are incorporated into a vast array of consumer and industrial products, including firefighting foam, AFFF, non-stick cookware, food packaging, such as fast food wrappers and compostable containers, water-resistant fabrics, cosmetics, like waterproof mascara and long-lasting foundation, and paints. These chemicals enter the environment through industrial runoff, wastewater treatment systems, municipal solid waste landfills, and the application of biosolids to land. Once dispersed, PFAS contaminate the food chain through aquatic life. Contaminated fish and meat are significant exposure pathways. For specific groups, particularly indigenous communities who rely on local fisheries, the risk is severe. Consuming just one serving of freshwater fish can result in a PFAS exposure comparable to the amount accumulated from average drinking water consumption over an entire month. The extreme persistence of PFAS ensures that they have reached globally remote ecosystems, contaminating Arctic ice and accumulating in marine species from plankton to polar bears. Regulatory and enforcement gaps. Canada has used the Canadian Environmental Protection Act 1999, CEPA, to prohibit certain high-profile substances, specifically PFOS and PFOA. However, the federal government is moving slowly to add the entire class of thousands of PFAS chemicals to the official list of toxic substances, a prerequisite for broader regulatory action. Health Canada has addressed the known hazard by dramatically reducing its recommended guideline for total PFAS in drinking water to 30 nanograms per liter, ING/L. A critical weakness in the regulatory structure, however, is that this revised guideline is non-binding, leaving the decision of whether and how to enforce it to individual provinces and municipalities. Compliance presents severe financial and technological challenges. Municipalities warn that achieving this low limit requires expensive technology, such as reverse osmosis systems and advanced carbon filters. Furthermore, current treatment methods typically only capture the chemicals rather than destroying them, resulting in highly concentrated PFAS waste that presents an unsolved disposal challenge.
I took a boat out on the Great Lakes, looked over the side, said 22 million pounds of garbage can no longer hide. It breaks down small and smaller, a piece of dust you see. Now the microplastic fragments are everywhere around me. They found it in the fish in the bottled water too. That tiny little particle floating on the wave is concentrating the old toxins from the water that you gave. It acts like a dark sponge and it grabs the chemicals tight. It's the flame retardants and the PFOS that travel day and night. They say they find in microplastics deep down in the beer. It's a toxic sponge, baby, soak up all the sin. The plastic is the carrier where the PFAS moves right in. It loads up all the poison, gives it to the fish to eat. That plastic ain't just a litter, it's a poison in the street. The government tried to stop it, they put it on the list. Said plastic manufactured items, it shouldn't be dismissed. But the federal court stepped in, said that order is unlawful. Said the listing was too broad and the law was full of awful. Now they can't regulate the source and the damage is done. The judges ruled it unconstitutional, said cabinet went too far. Said you gotta chase the plastics one at a time, no matter who you are. So the corporations walk free and the waterways get cursed. The whole wide class of plastic pollution only gets worse. I'm stuck here at the water's edge, feeling the deep blue pain. It's the toxic sponge, baby, soak up all the sin. The plastic is the carrier where the PFAS moves right in. It loads up all the poison, gives it to the fish to eat. That plastic ain't just a litter, it's a poison in the street. The debris keeps fragmenting, keeps moving from the land. From the rivers to the lakes, held in a dirty hand. It's a physical breakdown and a chemical attack. The law laid down its weapon, there ain't no turning back. I'm drinking microplastics, baby, and I can't find the door. It's a toxic sponge, baby, soak up all the sin. The plastic is the carrier where the PFAS moves right in. It loads up all the poison, gives it to the fish to eat. That plastic ain't just litter, it's a poison in the street. It's the toxic sponge, baby, soak up all the sin. The plastic is the carrier where the PFAS moves right in. It loads up all the poison, gives it to the fish to eat. That plastic ain't just a litter, it's a poison in the street. I took a boat out on the Great Lakes, looked over the side, said 22 million pounds of garbage can no longer hide. It breaks down small and smaller, a piece of dust you see. Now the microplastic fragments are everywhere around me. They found it in the fish and the bottled water too. It's the toxic sponge, baby, soak up all the sin. The plastic is the carrier where the PFAS moves right in. It loads up all the poison, gives it to the fish to eat. That plastic ain't just litter, it's a poison in the street.
Category 2. The Microplastic Vector. Scale of the plastic deluge in Canadian waters. Plastic pollution has reached catastrophic levels in Canada's vital freshwater systems. Research estimates that over 22 million pounds, approximately 10,000 metric tons, of plastic debris are dumped into the Great Lakes every year by the U.S. and Canada. This debris never disappears. It fragments into increasingly smaller pieces known as microplastics. Microplastics are highly mobile and durable, moving from land into rivers, lakes, and eventually the oceans. High concentrations of these tiny particles have been documented across all 5 Great Lakes, which serve as the drinking water source for 40 million people. Microplastics are routinely found in Great Lakes fish, drinking water, bottled water, and even beer. The extent of human exposure is alarming, with individuals estimated to ingest roughly a credit card-sized amount of plastic every week. The toxic sponge effect, co-contamination. Microplastics are more than just physical debris. They function as a critical chemical hazard vector. Once immersed in aquatic habitats, plastic fragments absorb and concentrate persistent pollutants, acting like chemical sponges. This process leads to the co-contamination of aquatic environments by microplastics, PFAS, and flame retardants. This mechanism creates a pathway for enhanced toxic exposure as microplastics effectively transport concentrated chemical loads to aquatic organisms and fish. The combination of a physical hazard, the plastic particle, and a chemical hazard, the concentrated adsorbed toxin, results in a synergistic toxicological risk that existing regulatory frameworks struggle to address when treating the substances in isolation. The unlawful delisting of plastic manufactured items. The federal government's capacity to regulate plastic pollution at the source suffered a severe setback in November 2023. The Federal Court of Canada ruled that the order adding plastic manufactured items, PMI, to the toxic substances list under SEPA was invalid and unlawful. The court's decision found the designation was unreasonable and unconstitutional because the listing was deemed overly broad. The court reasoned that since the evidence did not confirm that all forms of PMI were known or suspected to cause environmental harm, the Cabinet's sweeping decision to regulate the entire category exceeded the scope of the federal criminal law power. This ruling creates a devastating vulnerability in environmental protection law. It legally enforces a product-by-product regulatory approach rather than addressing the hazard posed by the entire class of plastic waste. This decision effectively forces regulators to chase thousands of individual plastic forms, drastically slowing down the process of curbing pollution at the source, thereby actively benefiting industrial producers, while millions of pounds of plastic continue to enter Canada's vital freshwater resources every year.
Woke up to the smell, and it wasn't from the sea. It was a hog and chicken waste, bringing misery to me. The manure spread on the flatlands, too heavy and too wide. The phosphorus is running, with nowhere left to hide. It's choking up the Lake Winnipeg, baby, with a bloom of green. It's the manure runoff moan, hear the sad low sound. 70% of the phosphorus is coming from the ground. The Red River is the highway, carrying the awful stream, washing all the poison from a broken, empty dream. The fields are with the nitrogen they take, that awful nitrate loading, for public health's sake. It sinks down to the water table, right beneath the soil. A farmer's hard-earned labor is turning into spoil. The toxic algae tear. The eutrophication's heavy, filling me with fear. They try to clean the water, but the source is far too vast. The damage done by farming is a shadow that is cast. I'm looking at the basin, and I'm feeling low and down.
It's the manure runoff moan. Hear the sad low sound. 70% of the phosphorus is coming from the ground. The Red River is the highway, carrying the awful stream, washing all the poison from a broken, empty dream. I woke up to the smell, and it wasn't from the sea. It was the hog and chicken waste, bringing misery to me. The manure spread on the flatlands, too heavy and too wide. The phosphorus is running with nowhere left to hide. It's choking up the Lake Winnipeg, baby, with a bloom of green. It's the manure runoff moan. Hear the sad low sound. 70% of the phosphorus is coming from the ground. The Red River is the highway, carrying the awful stream, washing all the poison from a broken, empty dream.
Category 3. The nutrient deluge from intensive agricultural waste. The economics of waste, manure management. A primary driver of freshwater degradation in regions like Manitoba is the sheer volume of waste generated by intensive agricultural practices. Lake Winnipeg has suffered from significant, often toxic blue-green algae blooms since the mid-1990s, a phenomenon directly linked to phosphorus runoff originating from fields where hog manure is spread. Improper disposal of these massive waste streams leads to nutrient leakage, contributing to widespread water and soil contamination. This facilitates the process of eutrophication and the spread of pathogenic bacteria like Escherichia coli and Salmonella. The decades-long practice of applying swine and poultry manures as fertilizer results in waste products containing high concentrations of nitrogen compounds. This practice leads to significant nitrate loading into the water table beneath farm fields alongside high bacterial counts. This non-point source contamination prevails over enormous land areas with minimal environmental monitoring in place, challenging effective regional governance. Lake Winnipeg's crisis, phosphorus overloading. Lake Winnipeg is suffering from severe phosphorus overloading, which drives the proliferation of harmful algal blooms. The Red River Basin, dominated by agriculture and prone to major flood events, is the single largest source of nutrients, contributing nearly 70% of the lake's total phosphorus load. The increase in nutrient concentrations since the mid-1990s is partially attributed to elevated precipitation, runoff, and river flows. While Manitoba has attempted to mitigate risk, the primary source of high phosphorus levels remains human-related factors, specifically agricultural and urban runoff. While efforts have successfully prevented hundreds of thousands of kilograms of phosphorus from entering the lake, these efforts struggle against the massive, persistent volume of discharge. The environmental consequences of poor waste management directly translate into public health risks, particularly from nitrate and bacterial contamination of water supplies. Studies on Lake Winnipeg beaches show that runoff from agricultural activities is a primary source of bacteria, necessitating public advisories.
Rising since the mid-90s year. The river flows are higher and it fills my soul with fear. The climate's turned the weather into a wrecking ball. Now the overland flooding is coming to take off. It's the accelerator, baby, for the poison that's already there. The silt and the clay are stirring with a frightening turbid face. The cloudiness is heavy, taking up all the space. That high turbidity is a friend to the harmful little germs. It holds those microorganisms and shields them from the terms of the chlorine that's supposed to kill the things that make me fall. Water everywhere, and my bones are gonna break. The flood is bringing trouble, Lord, for goodness gracious sake. It mobilizes the silt and the noyer in the tide. Now the river's full of darkness and there is nowhere to hide. The water plant is struggling, they gotta turn the dosage high. More chlorine in the pipeline, trying to make the germs all die. But that extra dose of power, it brings a secondary sting. It mixes with the organic matter, the trouble that it brings. They call them trialoma things, a hazard in my glass. My shallow well is nervous, right here on the land. The runoff from the surface is coming close at hand. The septic fields are failing, the containment is too weak. The water reservoir is empty, just hear the poor man speak. The rain keeps falling heavy, and I can't catch a break. Water everywhere, and my bones are gonna break. The flood is bringing trouble, Lord, for goodness gracious sake. It mobilizes the silt and the moisture in the tide. Now the river's full of darkness and there is nowhere to hide. When the water starts to run, it bypasses all the traps. It laughs at all the license, at all the little maps. It takes all of the waste that the governor ignored. It dumps it in the river where the pure water was stored. Now every drop is muddy and the truth is hard to find. Water, water everywhere and my bones are gonna break. The flood is bringing trouble, Lord, for goodness gracious sake. It mobilizes the silt and the moor and the tide. Now the river's full of darkness and there is nowhere to hide. And there is nowhere to hide. The precipitation's rising since the mid-90s year. The river flows are higher and it fills my soul with fear. The climate's turned the weather into a wrecking ball. Now the overland flooding is coming to take off. It's the accelerator, baby, for the poison that's already there. Water, water everywhere and my bones are gonna break. The flood is bringing trouble, Lord, for goodness gracious sake. It mobilizes the silt and the manure in the tide. Now the river's full of darkness and there is nowhere to hide.
Category 4, Hydrologic Failure as a Contaminant Accelerator. Climate change and mobilization. The increasing hydrological variability linked to climate change acts as a force multiplier for existing pollution hazards. Since the mid-1990s, the concentration of nutrients and the subsequent deterioration of water quality have been partially attributed to increasing precipitation, runoffs, floods, and river flows. Overland flooding and heavy rains serve as powerful, uncontrolled transport mechanisms, rapidly mobilizing diffuse contaminants from the land into water systems. These large volumes of water pick up pollutants such as manure, fertilizers, silt, and urban stormwater pollution. Floodwaters easily bypass conventional containment structures, overwhelming inadequate manure storage areas or septic fields, resulting in acute, widespread contamination. The significance of these events is that they transform regulatory failure into environmental catastrophe. Flooding thus functions as an accelerator of pollution, taking contamination generated by poor waste management practices and uncontrollably distributing it across the watershed. Compromised drinking water security. The immediate consequence of flood-driven contamination is a direct threat to safe drinking water. Flooding and spring runoff dramatically increase water turbidity, the cloudiness caused by high concentrations of suspended particles. High turbidity critically interferes with water disinfection protocols. The suspended particles can carry and physically protect harmful microorganisms from chlorine treatment. Water treatment plants are then forced to increase chlorine application to ensure disinfection, which creates a secondary health hazard, The chlorine reacts with the elevated levels of organic matter in the turbid water to form potentially harmful byproducts, such as trihalomethanes, THMs. Furthermore, shallow or poorly constructed wells, particularly susceptible to surface water intrusion during heavy runoff, are placed at high risk of immediate bacterial and nitrate contamination.
The new PCC is humming, and the city won't admit they're the single biggest source of the poison that won't quit. 600 kilograms of phosphorus every day. They broke the license limit and they look the other way. They've been non-compliant, baby, since the year 2014. The feds got their own problem down in SIPA's dusty book. They never put a hazard-based approach on what they overlook. You gotta prove it's dangerous before they make a move. The corporate lobbyists told him exactly what to prove. There ain't no right to know about the chemicals in the air. It's a new PCC breakdown. Hear the awful news. The government's paralysis gives the polluter the blues. They got extensions and delays to the year 2028. Just watch and wait. I looked inside the inventory for the PFAS release. The government said vastly undercounted, and they gave my heart no ease. They don't require the reporting, no mandatory word. The true scale of the poisoning is something left unheard. That opacity is golden for the one who wants to hide. Ooh. watch and wait.
Category 5, Regulatory Paralysis. The federal weakness, corporate opacity. Federal environmental law, anchored by SEPA, fails to incorporate sufficient protective measures. Experts argue that SEPA must be amended to mandate a hazard-based approach for substances of very high concern, requiring industry proof of safety and lack of alternatives prior to use, as adopted by the European Union. Absent this precautionary principle, regulators remain perpetually reactive. A critical enforcement failure lies in mandated disclosure. The federal government does not require facilities potentially handling PFAS to report their releases to the National Pollution Release Inventory, NPRI. This intentional data blackout means the true scale of industrial contamination is vastly undercounted. This opacity serves to protect corporate polluters and cripples the ability of regulators and researchers to accurately determine the location and volume of industrial releases, fundamentally denying the public's right to know about the chemicals in their environment. Chronic localized noncompliance, Winnipeg's failure. At the provincial and municipal levels, the failure to enforce existing environmental licenses is a primary driver of sustained pollution. Winnipeg's North End Water Pollution Control Center, NUPC, exemplifies this failure, being the single largest point source of phosphorus flowing into Lake Winnipeg. The plant releases an average of 600 kilograms of phosphorus daily. The facility has been in routine and chronic noncompliance with its provincial operating license limit of 1 milligram per liter phosphorus since the initial deadline of December 31, 2014, with concentrations routinely exceeding this limit by 3 times. Years of regulatory extensions have pushed the date for required compliance back to at least 2028. This systematic regulatory tolerance of gross pollution by a municipal entity demonstrates a complete breakdown in the accountability mechanisms designed to protect a major Canadian freshwater body. Insufficient penalties and lack of accountability. The low financial risk associated with violating environmental protection laws creates a clear economic incentive to pollute rather than comply. Following a 2011 malfunction that allowed partially treated sewage to flow into the Red River for 7 weeks, the city of Winnipeg faced charges of violating its Environment Act license. The outcome was a plea agreement requiring the city to pay only $10,000 in court costs. This negligible penalty relative to the massive cost of infrastructure upgrades required for compliance demonstrates that polluters receive a discounted rate for environmental destruction. This structure perpetuates non-compliance, such as the chronic violations at the Nook. Furthermore, when sued for damages by First Nations following a major sewage spill in 2024, the City of Winnipeg, the province, and the federal government all denied engaging in actions that cause harm and challenged the First Nations standing to sue, reflecting an institutional unwillingness to accept responsibility for systemic failures.
The problem is systemic governance failure. Regulators are legally hamstrung, over-tolerant of chronic non-compliance by major polluters, and unwilling to demand proof of chemical safety. This regulatory inertia creates an irreversible health burden. Halting this requires reform, enforce precautionary legislation like SEPA with a hazard-based framework, implement mandatory and deterrent enforcement with financial penalties for polluters, and build hydrological resilient water management to combat flooding. This environmental poisoning is a function of permissible corporate conduct and regulatory inaction. Without enforcement and protection, the forever chemicals will remain a tragedy for future generations.
Conclusion: the cadence of contamination and the call for accountability. The poisoning of Canadian water and food is driven by four interlocking and mutually reinforcing crises: the toxic endurance of industrial chemicals, PFAS, the physical proliferation and vector potential of plastic debris, microplastics, the overwhelming input from agricultural waste, nutrient deluge, and the climate-driven acceleration of contaminant dispersal, hydrologic failure. The defining characteristic of this multifaceted crisis is that its persistence is enabled by systemic governance failures. Regulatory bodies are either legally hamstrung by court decisions that favor industry, unwilling to demand proof of safety before introduction, tolerant of chronic noncompliance by major polluters, or reluctant to mandate industrial disclosure of toxic releases. The long-term cost of this regulatory inertia is the irreversible contamination of fundamental environmental resources and the chronic health burden placed upon the Canadian populace. To halt this systemic degradation, immediate and structural reforms are required. Enforced precautionary legislation. SEPA must be urgently amended to mandate a hazard-based framework for high-concern substances like PFAS, and industrial facilities must be required to report all PFAS releases to the National Pollution Release Inventory. Mandatory and deterrent enforcement. Provincial regulators must impose strict, immediate compliance deadlines on major point source polluters, supported by significant, punitive financial penalties that outweigh the economic benefit of chronic violation. Hydrological resilience. Governments must invest in structural water management solutions, such as retention sites and reservoirs, to mitigate the contaminant-accelerating effects of overland flooding and protect vulnerable drinking water sources during high-flow events. The data unequivocally shows that the level of environmental poisoning currently afflicting Canadian ecosystems is a function of permissible corporate conduct and regulatory inaction. Without a decisive pivot toward proactive protection and rigorous enforcement, the forever chemicals and their associated waste will remain a permanent tragedy burdening future generations.
Call it the forever chemical, Lord, and that's a lonely name. Engineered to resist the fire, the water, and the rain. It's in the makeup on my counter, the coat upon my back, a non-stick frying pan that puts poison on the track. Now it's deep inside the bloodstream, baby, where it aims to stay. I read a tragic headline, came from the frozen north. Said the Arctic ice is poison, showing all the damaged world. They found it in the polar bears and the seals that swim the sea. The little town of Winnipeg got no immunity. The price of convenience, baby, is the sorrow of my soul. To carry this heavy load, forever is a long time on this polluted road. It builds up in my kidneys, puts the light into my mind. This poison won't be broken down, it just keeps on behind. The scientists came looking, checked the water and the fish. Said one serving of fresh water is more than I should wish. They talk about the liver damage, the way the thyroid fails, The immune system breakdown tells a story on the scales. Now I'm afraid to feed my children what the river sends to me. They phased out all the PFOs. They thought the danger passed, but the industry brought substitutes, moving just too fast. They swapped the long chain trouble for a short one just as bad. The chemicals keep changing and the public is left sad. They're playing a shell game, baby, with my life and all my hair. Forever is a long time to carry this heavy load. Forever is a long time on this polluted road. It builds up in my kidneys, puts a lie into my mind. This poison won't be broken down, it just keeps on behind. Tell me 30 nanograms is the limit for my cup, but the filters cost a fortune, and who's gonna raise it up? The province says a guideline ain't a thing they have to bind. So the cost of clean water is a burden on mankind. The law keeps looking sideways while the poison slips on through. Forever is a long time to carry this heavy load. Forever is a long time on this polluted road. It builds up in my kidneys, puts a lie into my mind. This poison won't be broken down, it just keeps on behind. They call it the forever chemical, Lord, and that's a lonely name. Engineered to resist the fire, the water, and the rain.
It's in the makeup on my counter, the coat up on my back, a non-stick frying pan that puts poison on the track. Now it's deep inside the bloodstream, baby, where it aims to stay.